Hi, today I wanted to go over the news that Apple is refusing to allow the FBI or give the FBI the tools required to unlock an iPhone. So the whole idea is they're saying in order for us to develop that type of tool, we would have to make the phone less secure, which would create backdoors, and also that this is going to set a dangerous precedent. And I totally understand what they're getting at. We live in a post-Snowden world where we've just kind of come to accept the idea that the government is spying on us. It's sad, but we live in a society where we're just kind of used to the idea that the government spies on us. And what I want to talk about here is the fact that I actually agree with Apple's decision. I know, rareness from me. A lot of people will say that I'm obviously biased against Apple. I hate Apple. Nothing I say makes sense. And well, I believe it or not, there's some cases in which I actually do think Apple makes a decent product. I mean, if I were recording a live session that I only have one chance to record properly, you bet your ass I'm not using a Windows-based PC to do that. I'm not. I would never trust it. I just don't like the way Apple deals with consumers when they have warranty issues, out of warranty issues. I don't like the way they deal with their extended repair programs. I don't like the way they've designed some of their motherboards, and I certainly don't like the way they deal with us. But that doesn't mean that I think bad of them on everything. And this is an issue where I actually agree with Apple. So they're saying that it's going to set a dangerous precedent if they decide to create this type of tool. And they're kind of sticking to their guns in the whole idea that we cannot create this type of tool. The whole point of making the operating system and designing it in the way that it was designed is that we ourselves cannot hack it. We ourselves cannot get inside of the phone. And I'm okay with that. Here, I don't believe the main reason that Apple's going to bat on this issue is because they really care about the end user's privacy. What I think is that when the federal government rings Apple and says, "Hi, there's a gunman that killed 14 people and we need to get into his phone. Can you help us?" And they go, "Sure." I think Apple's looking 1 year into the future when they get a call saying, "Hi, there's an accountant that may have done something wrong and it's really, really bad. Can you help us get in their phone?" And Apple goes, "Maybe did something wrong? Well, we're not really sure yet. We kind of need to get into the phone to confirm that. So can you just go ahead and unlock that for us?" And they go, "Yeah, why do you think we'll do that?" "Well, because you did it last time. You helped us out last time, so why don't you want to help us out this time? Don't you care about the safety of the American citizens?" And they go, And that's what they're trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid this entire mess whereby the federal government thinks that every single time that they need something, every time they want to unlock something, that Apple will do it. Because here's the thing. If you're willing to do it once for this reason, they could probably convince you to do it again for this reason, and then again for this, and then again for this, and then again for this. So you started out with, can you unlock a phone because this person murdered 14 people, and then it's going to become, can you unlock a phone so that we can confirm that this teacher wasn't helping students cheat on tests. Like, it really is one of those things where you kind of go start here and here and here and here, because that's the thing with evil. That's the thing with bad in general. You don't go from good to evil in one step. You kind of go from good to evil in these tiny little increments. And Apple is saying, we're not going to budge on this one increment. And I understand that completely, because the way manipulation occurs and the way most things that are bad in the world occur, it doesn't happen in one step. It happens over time, and it happens over several steps. And Apple is drawing their line in the sand, saying, we created this secure device. We are not going to allow you access into the secure device. We're not going to create backdoors to it just for you, because that. And I kind of agree with that. I really do. But the thing that I really understand here, and the real reason, for all of you people who think Apple's doing this because they care about their customers, the real reason for this is because Apple doesn't want to have to deal with the federal government on a regular basis. See, this is one phone call here. One phone call to get into one phone. But if they do that once, then instead of it being one call every week, it's going to be a call every day. Then it's a call every hour. Then it's a call every 10 minutes. Then it's a call every minute. Then it's a call every second. And once the federal government gets used to the fact that they can just go, "Hey, Apple, can you fix this? Hey, Apple, can you get into this phone for us? Hey, Apple, can you unlock this phone for us?" They're going to be doing it all the time for every single case in the world. And Apple is very quickly going to go from a company that never had to deal with this shit to being a company that has 50,000 employees on staff to deal with all of this. And who do you think is going to pay for that? The stockholders. The stockholders are going to pay for that. The stock price is going to fall. The dividends are not going to be as plentiful, and the company is going to have less money. Now, I know what you're thinking. Boo-hoo, poor Apple with their $400 billion having to hire a couple of people. But this is the way the world works. Your pension fund, your retirement fund may very well have Apple stock in it, and they don't want their stock to go down over this type of issue. They want to keep the money in their bank account. And what better way to keep the money in their bank account than instead of it making it an issue of, well, we don't really want to deal with having an interface with the federal government on a regular basis, they make it an issue of, well, we don't really want to do that because we care about our users. So this one time, Apple gets to pretend that they care about their end user when they really do not. And it allows them to look good, and it also allows them to weasel and wiggle their way out of a situation where they would lose stupid amounts of money. Because again, if Apple allows this one thing to happen, they are going to be asked to do this again. They are going to be asked to do this every single day for every single law enforcement agency in the world and domestically, and that is going to cost a lot of money. And I understand why they don't want to pay it. I also understand why they don't want to deal with interfacing with the federal government. I understand, trust me, and any small business owner who's ever gotten some papers in the mail from, tax agencies saying, hi, 4 years ago, we did not get this sheet of paper from you. Because we did not get this sheet of paper from you, we think that you owe us $45,000 to $300,000. Please pay up. If you want to refute this, please provide us with this form and that form and this form and that form and this form and that form and this form in that form, to the point where you have to hire an accountant at $2,000 a month just to make sense of any of the crap that we're making up. Again, trust me, I understand why they don't want to deal with the federal government. Dealing with the government bureaucracy in any way, shape, or form is a complete and utter mess and a nightmare and a clusterfuck and a disaster, and I understand why they don't want to do that. I certainly understand why they don't want to do that when it would be at great cost to themselves. And you have to look at it from a logical perspective here. So they do this. If they make this decision to help this one time, I know what you're thinking. Don't you want to help? Don't you want to help keep crimes from being committed? Doesn't Apple care about the people that got shot? But think about it this way. Think about it just from Apple's perspective for a minute. So they help the government get inside the phone to have decreased consumer confidence, because millions and millions of people are now going to look at the iPhone as a device that the government can get into anytime they want. So you already have that decreased consumer confidence. And not only is Apple going to look worse to their own customers, but Apple is going to look worse to their own customers while losing a bunch of money. So not only is Apple going to be losing money to customers that may decide to not buy an iPhone because they perceive the iPhone to be an insecure device after Apple helps the FBI, but now you also have the fact that, again, they've hired this 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 employees to interface with the FBI, to interface with foreign government law enforcement agencies, to interface with your local police department. That's a lot of money. So they're going to lose money, and they're going to lose confidence from their own consumers. I wonder what decision I would make if I was Apple. Really, that's what this comes down to. And again, honestly, I understand from both a business perspective, a consumer's perspective, why Apple made the decision they did. I totally understand why they made the decision they did. And if I were Apple, I would make the same decision. Again, just because I talk crap about some of Apple's products that don't work the way I think they should, that weren't designed the way I think they should have been designed, or that are not supported the way I think it would be right to support a product that costs over $2,000, that doesn't mean that I hate everything they do. I don't like the way they treat end users with out of warranty or in warranty issues. I don't like the way they handle their extended warranty programs. I don't like the way that they deal with repair shops who want diagnostic tools and software and schematics and board views to help do their job. I don't like how they deal with parts sourcing. I don't like the fact that they don't allow any of us to buy parts to repair their products. I don't like the total lack of cooperation when it comes to working on their products. I don't like the fact that in 2016 they don't have, most of their products are not liquid proofed, when again Lenovo, IBM, Sony, Samsung figured this stuff out 3 to 12 years ago for their laptops and cell phones. Again, there are a lot of things I don't like about their products. But I will give credit where credit is due, and I feel that this is a great decision. This makes perfect, total sense to me, and I understand why they did it. I would do the same thing myself. And I'll give them props when they make products that do what they're supposed to. Again, For all the crap I have to say about Apple products, if I were told that let's say this is like David Bowie is going to come back to life for only 20 minutes and you're going to be able to record him, there is no way in hell I am going to do that on a Windows PC. Just no fucking way in hell. And I wouldn't do it on a Linux computer with like the one piece of open source software that's probably going to be able to do any of that. I'm not going to trust that. I would actually want a Mac for that. There are times when I think they have good products, and like I'm not, because I get a lot more comments since I've been getting a lot more people coming to the channel since I did the Error 53 video, and a lot of people think that I just hate Apple, like everything they do, and I really don't. The reason you hear me saying all the crap about Apple that I say is because of the chair that I'm sitting in. So right now, I'm sitting in the chair of a business owner reviewing a decision that a company made. Most of the time when you're watching my videos, I'm sitting in my chair as a technician whose life is made incredibly, incredibly difficult because I don't have the parts, the diagnostic tools, or the blueprints that I need in order to do my job. So of course, when I'm sitting in that chair, you're going to hear a much more one-sided view than when we're viewing other issues. But yeah, stuff like this, I would give Tim Cook a high five for this. Seriously, this makes sense. You got to draw a line somewhere, because again, if you give the government a backdoor to get into any phone, I mean, really, like, would you trust 2016's government with the ability to get in any phone? Like, would you? I mean, there are many people out there that wouldn't trust 1776's government with the ability to get in any phone, but I sure as hell wouldn't trust 2016's government with a backdoor to all of these devices. And that's assuming that we don't even already have one. Again, for all we know, the NSA has a backdoor into that, but the FBI doesn't. I mean, really, for all we know, they already have the capability to do this. And this is just a moot point, and this is just to make it look like they don't have the ability to do that. I mean, you could go into endless conspiracy theories in the subject. In terms of whether I think Apple's going to fold and give in, well, I mean, who has more money? I mean, this is one of those things. I talk about how much money Apple has, and Apple has more money than the United States Treasury for very often when you look at the stats. Like, Treasury is here, Apple is here. So, and we do live in a country that is run on who has the most money. And this is one of those very, very few situations where that's actually a good thing. Because, again, Apple gets to get away and do what they want. Apple gets to get away with murder and do whatever they please because they have more money. They're allowed to design products that fail, not warranty them properly. They're allowed to have a monopoly on the repair of their own products. They're allowed to raid repair shops that try to repair their products, all because they have a lot of money. That's all stuff that Apple is allowed to do. And I don't like that. But here, let's look at the flip side of the coin. Apple has more money than most of these organizations. Therefore, they'll probably be allowed to get away with it, which is great because here they're advocating for user privacy. Now, granted, again, they're not advocating for user privacy for the reasons that you think they are. It's not because they care about the user. It's because they care about themselves. But here, Apple's selfish self-interest and our selfish self-interest just so happen to coincide. And that's a beautiful thing. The one thing that I want to talk about here, though, is this whole idea that Apple is doing this because they really care about their end customers. They care about you. And that's something where, okay, let's stop the bullshit and let's kind of come back to the reality of the situation here. The whole idea that Apple cares about you, Apple cares about the customer. In 2007 and 2008, when the A1226 and A1260 MacBook Pros were failing like crazy, when they instituted this extended warranty program or extended service program, they would run a test on the computer to see if it was eligible. Now, the problem is that when the video chip would die in those computers, which is the reason that the motherboards were recalled, very often, maybe at least over 50% of the time, you would turn on the computer and it wouldn't turn on. So you'd see the little light come on, but it wouldn't turn on. And since they couldn't run the test, they would say that you're not eligible. Does that sound like a company that cares about you? Well, just with the 2011 MacBook Pro, they did admit for 3 years running that this thing was a piece of shit, and they finally admitted it in the beginning of 2015, after most of the people who had problems with this computer had given up and bought a new computer. And the whole idea of, like, Samsung and Sony figured out how to liquid-proof their phones years ago. IBM and Lenovo had down-pat liquid resistance on their laptops so you wouldn't have the problems that I talk about on this YouTube channel all the time over 10 years ago. Apple could do that in less than 1 day of engineering. I assure you. Trust me. Just trust me on this. Apple is not going to bat for you against the federal government because they care about the user. Apple does not give two shits of a fuck about you. But what I do want to talk about here is when you do something for one reason, but people kind of say you did it for another reason. So a lot of people will say that the battery being built into the phone is planned obsolescence. And it's not really, I don't think it's about planned obsolescence. It does indeed lead to planned obsolescence, but it makes it easier to design, easier to manufacture, and above all, it makes it thinner. So when you can make the phone thinner and cooler looking, people think it's a cooler device. When people think it's a cooler device, you get increased sales, and it just so happens to lead to planned obsolescence. But that is kind of a side effect of it, subject. But again, just because I'm kind of getting long-winded here. To end the video, I applaud Apple's decision here. It makes business sense. It makes sense for their image. It makes sense for their finances. It makes sense for our privacy. I wish Tim Cook the best of luck in giving a middle finger to the federal government.